Apple is apologizing after admitting a software update deliberately slowed some older iPhones. The tech giant says the update is intended to prevent sudden shutdowns in the iPhone 6. But as a side effect, apps and other functions run slower. In a new message to customers, the company says, quote, "We know that some of you feel Apple has let you down. We apologize. We have never and would never do anything to intentionally shorten the life of any Apple product." Apple is discounting the cost of battery replacements on certain phones. Dan Ackerman is a section editor at our partner CNET. Dan, great to have you back with us at the table. This is a bit confusing. Apple is apologizing, but not for what some of its users are accusing it of doing. So explain how this all went down.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue. What Apple did was come up with a not entirely unreasonable solution to a problem that's not very easy to fix. And that's the batteries that we use in everything. As they get older, they don't hold as much charge, and they also can't give out energy at the same peak levels. And when you have newer apps on phones that really want to do impressive stuff, they need a lot of energy, and people found that on their older phones, sometimes not only was the battery life not as long, the phones would just shut down. I found that happened to me with my iPhone 6 Plus. So they had a software update, because so many things about these devices are determined by software updates that come after you buy the original device, that said we're going to smooth out some of those peaks, do some power management to basically say the phone can't give out as much energy to the apps as the apps may sometimes ask for, to make the battery last longer, so you don't have a phone that lasts like 3 or 4 hours. You have one that'll last most of the day.
You know, it's interesting because this did make me think when I read this story. When you used to have a BlackBerry, you can actually take the battery out yourself and put a new one in. With the iPhone, it's not easy to do. You'd actually have to go into the store and have it done for you. Apple is now saying they're going to allow you to follow your battery life more easily on your iPhone. Explain that.
Yes, they're not going to change what the software update did in terms of doing the power management and slowing down your phone to extend the battery life, but they say that they're going to add something to the software for it that will let you monitor it and give you more information, more transparency about what's happening, and that's kind of the entire game here, is providing transparency. That's what this apology does after the fact, and that's what I think people were more upset about than their older phones slowing down a bit, the lack of transparency, that they weren't telling you they were doing this to your product.
You mentioned the apology. How big of a deal was it? We heard sort of a little apology and now a full apology.
That's true. And Apple, over the years, they've had a handful of these situations where they've done these kind of big apologies. The one that always comes to mind is what they call Antenna-gate, which was actually way back in 2010, where first they said, you're holding the phone wrong if you can't get a call through. And then they said, OK, we'll give you a little rubber bumper to go around it, and we're sorry about that. So it is rare, but apologies, I think, are very important from these big companies. Look what happened with Samsung last year when they had their own battery problems. They eventually came to a big apology, a big investigation, shared a lot of information with people, and now people are still buying Samsung, Galaxy and Note phones. That apology really worked well for them.
You and I have had conversations about this. A lot of people have a sneaking suspicion that the reason that these phones didn't work is so that you would be forced to upgrade to the newest model of an iPhone. Is Apple addressing that? They've denied that, by the way.
I think what they were trying to do, at least what they say they were trying to do, is the opposite. Make your phone feel like it'll last longer because the battery doesn't run out as quickly and you don't feel like you have to get a new phone. But by making the phones feel more sluggish, they actually ended up maybe doing the opposite. I had an iPhone 6 Plus that was really getting kind of pokey, and I upgraded to a 10 this year. When I gave my 6 to somebody I work with, the first thing they did was go, oh, man, you've got to get a new phone, because it was really, it felt really slow to them.
It's interesting. It's rare you get an apology from Apple, and while they did offer an apology, they also explained in their apologies that batteries don't last forever.
Yeah. And
it's true. And there's batteries in everything we own, not just phones.
It is the sluggishness that leads all of us to new purchases. Dan Ackerman, thank you very much.
Thank you.